Okay, guys, we're going to talk about the light, Alpha and Omega, the Aleph and the Tav, the first and the last. Guys, I hope you follow along here. You're going to have to move quickly. I have the notes, as I always tell you. I encourage you to get these notes. I have some amazing, exciting things to share with you in this message. So I have to move quickly. This I tried to do yesterday, but if a video is more than 23 minutes, I can't upload it to YouTube. So let's get right into it. Let's get it done in 23 minutes, and then we can get this posted. All right, let's get into it, guys. Okay, guys, here's our notes. And I have a lot of content to go over, so let's get right into it. In the book of Revelation, it gives us the name of Christos. It says Alpha and Omega. Now, the New Testament is written in the Greek language. In the Greek language, the first and last letters are Alpha and Omega. I have those here. So an alpha is an A, just like in English. And Omega is the Omega symbol, which you may have seen. So in English, this would be like Z. So he says, I am Alpha and Omega. This is his name. So his name is Alpha, Omega, first, last, beginning, and ending. Okay. Now the New Testament is written in Greek. The Old Testament is written in Hebrew. In the Hebrew, the first letter is Aleph, and the last letter is Tav. And here in Hebrew, you go right to left. So when we say Aleph, here's an Aleph, and this one is a Tav. Okay. And he says, and I'm putting here the first and the last, the Creator. So in Revelation chapter 22:13, he says, I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning, arche. Now we're going to get into arche in a little bit when he says beginning. This is important. And the end. The first, protos, and the last, eschatos. So in English, we get root words from the Greek language like proton, and last is like eschatos, eschatology, okay? So what we have in the book of Revelation, Alpha Omega, is in the beginning of the book of Revelation, chapter 1, verse 8 and 11, and at the end of the book, Revelation 21, verse 6 and 22, 13. So what this is doing is the book of Revelation is a scroll. And the beginning of the book and the end of the book have a seal. So it's like if you have the beginning of the book here and the end of the book, he's sealing the book with his name. You understand that? So the scroll is open, is rolled up. It's held by a seal. So this is what they would do. They would have a seal. The seal would authorize the book. So he's authorized the book with his name, Alpha and Omega. And only the Lamb is worthy to even look at the book or the scroll and to open the seals thereof. So the seals are locked up until the time the Lamb opens the seal. Okay? What I'm getting at is one of the seals is his name. We can find the seal, Alpha Omega, in Revelation. There's another seal. This is why I'm so excited, is because I found the Aleph and the Tav. I found the Aleph and the Tav. He is in the Old Testament, but the rabbis don't know who he is. The Christian scholars, they don't know who he is. His name, it's a mystery. He's hidden, but he's there. Okay. Now, also I want to mention Revelation 1, verse 1, the revelation, apokalypsis. Okay, so the word revelation in Greek is apokalypsis. And of Christos. Christos is the Greek name for Jesus Christ. So when you hear me on this channel, many times I will say, Christos. I'm saying his Greek name. His Greek name begins with an I, not a J. Okay? And then it says, John, who bear record of the word. Word in Greek is logos, of God. So, again, we have important words here, guys. Arche, apokalypsis, Isos Christos, logos, okay? This is all the same person. Now, this is obviously the beginning of the book of Revelation, okay? And John, who is also the author of the Gospel of John, also describes the logos and the arche, okay? John 1:1, in the beginning, arche, was the word logos, and the word logos was with God, and the word logos was God. So, the Alpha and Omega, Isos Christos, the logos, is God, okay? The same was in the beginning, arche, okay? So again, remember we saw beginning arche, Alpha and Omega, beginning arche, with God, and all things were made by him. In him was life, and life was the light of men. And the light shines in darkness, and the darkness comprehends him not. Now, we're going to get into this a little bit, but what I'm getting at is we have his name, Alpha and Omega, okay? Very, very significant. Now, what we're doing is we're reading in the New Testament. We're reading in the Greek language, okay? So these significant words, Alpha and Omega, arche, logos, Isos Christos, light, okay? Now, what John is doing here is he is quoting and referencing the participation of the Lord Jesus Christ in creation, okay? So, in Genesis 1:1, it says, in the beginning, okay? We're going to actually look at the Hebrew of this word in a minute, but right now we're talking about the Greek and letters and the Greek words, okay? But in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, okay? This is Genesis 1:1. And you can see in the beginning was logos. And the word logos was with God. And the word was God. Okay, so this is speaking of the same thing. But guys, then we have an issue. Because in Genesis 1:1, then in Genesis 1:2, it talks about darkness. When God creates something, it's not darkness, it's good. So something happens between Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:2, okay? And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And God said, let there be light. So the earth is without form and darkness. God does not create things this way, okay? So something happened. The earth was subject to judgment. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Then I have a message on this, which I strongly encourage you to watch, called The World That Then Was. And the world that then was, we go over the distance between Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, okay? But the world for humans and Adam comes at Genesis 1:2, okay? This creation. There's another creation. And this other creation is angels and everything. But in the beginning, God created the heaven and earth. So it doesn't matter who it is or what it is, Isos Christos was there, and he was part of creation. Okay, so again, we're opening the scroll, we're opening the seal. And I will put a link in the description field for that message, the world that then was. But let's keep going. Now, one thing before we go to the Aleph and the Tav, and the Greek and the Hebrew, the letters correspond to numbers. So Alpha has a numeric value of 1. Omega has a numeric value of 800, so 801. First and last Greek letters, okay? Now, this is the part I'm so excited to share with you, okay? The Aleph and the Tav, guys. I found the Aleph and the Tav. Oh, I'm just so blessed. Guys, what I do on this channel is I do the work of a scribe. Okay, what a scribe does is the things I'm going to get into, you have to go to the original language. Okay, you saw in the Greek, we went to the original language. Okay, for us in English, actually, the Greek language does translate a little easier from, Greek to English because English is Latin root, okay? But the Hebrew's a little bit different. But anyway, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter, but our problem is we don't read the original language, okay? And this is a great disadvantage. The things I'm about to tell you would never know reading an English Bible, okay? But what you have to do is study and go to the original language. That's how I found the Aleph and the Tav, okay? Because both the rabbis and the Christian scholars, they don't know what it is. It's his name. Just like Alpha and Omega is his name, Aleph and Tav is his name. And they're, again, the first and last Hebrew letters. Now, this is an Aleph here, and this is a Tav. They form a word that is not translated in English, okay? Now, guys, what I encourage you to do is get a Strong's Concordance. This is the only way you'll find this, or if you look at the original language, you go word for word. But what a Strong's Concordance does is it doesn't matter what translation you read. I mean, it kind of does. Some of them are paraphrases, okay? They just kind of, tell you what they think it means. But what you need to do is, you see how we're going in the Greek, beginning is arche. You need something to tell you what the word you're reading is in the original language, okay? And the Strong's Concordance can do that. So there's different apps you can do that. There's a website called Blue Letter Bible, which I strongly encourage you to get. There's also an app called My Sword, and My Sword will allow you to read in English and then touch on the word, and the word will give you the Strong's Concordance number. So the Strong's Concordance number for Aleph Tav is H0853. The H stands for Hebrew. In Greek, it'll be a G. This word, or the Aleph and the Tav, it appears 22 times, okay? But you won't really see this word, okay? You have to go to the original language. And that's what I did, and I found the Aleph and the Tav. The Aleph and the Tav is his name. Amazing. Okay, but now the other thing it'll do when you look at the Strong's Concordance, it'll tell you the root meaning, or the original root of the word, okay? So the root meaning of the word Aleph Tav is a token or a sign. So Aleph Tav is a sign. It is a seal. Remember before we saw Alpha and Omega is a sign. Is a sign and a seal that opens the book, okay? So the Aleph and the Tav is also a very, very significant seal that opens the book, okay? Then we will now look at where this word appears. It appears 22 times, and we're not going to show you all 22 times. It'll just take too long. But the first time it appears is in Genesis 1:1, which we, of course, just read. In the beginning, again, we're going to look at this word again in the beginning as well. But for right now, in the beginning, God created. Then you have this Aleph Tav. And it's not a word. You don't see this. In the English, you'll see, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. But there's this Aleph and Tav, which is so important. It's his name. And his name is a sign. It's telling you, in the beginning, God created. And when he created, the Aleph and the Tav was there. The Aleph and the Tav created the heavens and the earth. The Lord Jesus Christ, Isos Christos, is creator. Glory to his name. The heavens and the earth. He is creator, the Word of God. Remember in John, in Revelation 1:1, John 1:1, he called him the Logos of God. Okay? And you can see here I have some verses which I want to read real quick as it pertains to the Lord Jesus Christ as creator. Okay? And here we can see Ephesians 3:9, to make all men see what is the fellowship of the mystery from the beginning of the world has been hidden in God, who created all things by Jesus Christ. Colossians 1:15, who is the image of the invisible God. For by him were all things created. By who? Isos Christos, Alpha and Omega, Aleph and the Tav. In heaven, in the earth, visible, invisible, thrones, dominions, principalities, powers. All things were created by him and for him. This is all for him, guys. This is all for him. I do all this for him, not for you. Because he is the creator. He is amazing. And so the first time we find this, it's telling us, it's giving a sign, it's giving us a token, it's giving us his name. In the beginning, God created Aleph and the Tav. The next time it's used is Genesis 1:4. God saw, okay, in the English we see God saw the light and it was good. But after it says God saw, there's an Aleph and a Tav. So now it's the Aleph and the Tav is telling us he's the light. He's the light. God saw the light, that it was good. Okay. So let's remember, guys, that he is the light. Remember when we saw Genesis, okay? And John 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Okay? This is exactly what we see in John 1:1. And by all things were made by him, and him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in darkness, and the darkness comprehends him not. So the light that shines in darkness is when he said, "Let there be light." He is the light that shines in darkness. He is the light. The darkness is what you see in Genesis 1:2. The earth was without form, and darkness was on the face of the deep. Amazing. Hopefully you get that. Hopefully that is clear, but we got to move on. So he is the light, which did shine in the earth, and that was covered in darkness when the earth was without form and void. Amazing. Okay, there are other places this is used. One of the places it's also used, guys, is in Genesis 19. When God judges Sodom and Gomorrah, the Aleph and Tav is there. And it says that, God will destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because he saw the wickedness there. So the Aleph and Tav is also there. I just want to mention that briefly. But these are other videos that I've pointed out. So when we talk about Sodom and Gomorrah, I told you about the days of Sodom and Gomorrah, the days of Lot that we're in now. The Aleph and Tav is there. He's also in Isaiah 6:1. I saw also Aleph Tav, the Lord sitting upon the throne, high and lifted up. His garment filled Aleph and Tav, the temple. So in Isaiah 6:1, I saw also the Lord. Again, Aleph Tav is the Lord. Alpha and Omega is the Lord. Isos Christos is the Lord that is seated upon the throne, high and lifted up. His garment filled Aleph and Tav, the temple. So here, Aleph Tav is telling us it is the Lord that sits upon the throne. And the Aleph and Tav is saying the Lord is also the temple. The Lord is the Aleph and the Tav. The Lord is the temple. Isaiah 6:1, amazing. Now, the last time it's used, remember it's 21 times. The last time it's used, Aleph and Tav, is in Zechariah 6, verse 8. And this is when an angel is speaking to Zechariah, and thus it's giving us a seal to end the old covenant. So remember before that the Alpha and Omega was in the beginning of the book and the end of the book, okay? Well, the Aleph and Tav is the same thing. So he's in Genesis 1 and in Zechariah 6. Zechariah is the second last book, but essentially it's sealing the minor prophets, And who knows the order? Maybe Zechariah is supposed to be the last book. But again, the Aleph and Tav is sealing the book, okay? So there we can see the Aleph and the Tav. Isn't that amazing? I think that is so exciting. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, now let's talk about Isaiah 44:6. And the King of Israel, Redeemer, the Lord of hosts, it says, I am the first, and this is Hebrew, so this is the word rison, beginning. I am the last, a heron. So again, this is Isaiah 44:6 is just like I am the Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end, the first and the last. I am the Lord which makes all things, which stretches the heavens and spreads the earth. So he is the creator, guys. And it was him in the beginning. Now, I told you about this here, the Genesis 1:1. In the beginning is this word in Hebrew. This is the word in Hebrew, is Bereshit. Okay, that's how you say it, Bereshit. And you can see the letters. Now, you read it this way, okay? But as we break down the letters, you can see these two letters is bar, okay? And bar in Aramaic means sun, okay? Then we have an aleph, okay? So there we have an aleph. Then we have a shin yod. And shin yod means the lamb. So when Abraham said God himself will provide a lamb, this is an alternate spelling of the lamb. Shin yod, lamb. And then you have a tav. So in the beginning is the sun, the Aleph and the Tav, the lamb. You see that? In the beginning. The sun, the Aleph and the Tav, the lamb. It's all in one word. It's in his name. Now, guys, one other thing I want to mention before we wrap it up is Ezekiel 9. Hopefully it's on the screen. Ezekiel 9, verse 4. It says, mark those on the foreheads who cry out for the abominations. Okay? The word mark there is a tav. It's actually two letters, tav, vav. But the ancient Hebrew of the tav, you can see here a tav is kind of like a, like a box with no bottom to it. But the ancient pictograph is like a cross. So when it's saying mark them on their foreheads, this is they're marked with a cross. And this is, again, Ezekiel 9, with those that cry on the bottom on their foreheads. So we know that the tav is a seal, okay? And we told you about the seal seals the book, right? Well, we also know that the 144,000 are sealed, and they're sealed on their forehead with a tav. You see that? Amazing. Sealed on their foreheads. As well, the Aleph and the Tav, 400. The Tav is 400, the Aleph is 1. Okay, guys, there we go. He is the Alpha and Omega. He is the beginning and the ending. He is the first and the last. He is the Aleph and the Tav, the Creator. So, guys, get the notes. I will also put the notes typed in the description field. Thanks for watching. I will have part 2 to this as well, where we talk more about the lights. Okay, so thanks for watching. God bless you. Get the notes. Please study this. This is amazing. He's coming soon. So, again, as I always say, watch and pray that you be counted worthy to escape all these things and stand before the Son of Man. Amen.